Hello students. The next video lecture is on the history of operating system. So in the previous lecture we talk about what is the operating system, what are the goals, why we need the operating system, and what are the components, and in the second video we will introduced about how to load the operating system, what is the booting process and all. So in this we focus on what is the evolution of the operating system from the first generation to the fourth or till now. So the first generation is between 1945 to 1955. So it's not really the operating system. The person's name Howard Ankin and John von Neumann at the Institute for Advanced Study, Princeton. So, in the University of Pennsylvania, there are the J. Eckert and William McCauley who work on this generation of the operating system. This is basically work on the vacuum tubes or the plug boards. These operating systems are the basically used for the calculation purpose only. So the computers were used for the calculation and the programming that was done in the machine language, or we can say that the machine basic functions that were controlled by the plug board. So this is the first generation. Next we have the second generation in the duration of 1955 to 1965, and the introduce or the introduction of the transistors instead of the blockboards. So the programs were the first written on the paper in the Fortran language, and then they were translated into the punched card. So after the programs had finished, uh, after the programs have been finished, a human operator would take the result and take it onto the output room. So basically, it works on the batch system, a collection of jobs given in an input. IBM 1401 read cards, copy tapes, print outputs are one of these examples. The larger second generation computers with the operating system are programmed in the assembly and the Fortran language, and also the Fortran monitor system, which are the FMS. And third one is the IBM operating system for 7094 microprocessor. Next, we have the third generation operating system in between 1965 to 1980, which basically work on the integrated circuits. One of the example is the IBM OS 360. Its weakness is all the software, including the operating system, would run all the models, the millions of lines of code written by the hundreds of programmers. So spooling is to be used, which may copy the jobs from car onto the disk. Whenever a running job finish, load a new one. So the time sharing systems are to be used in the third generation. Time sharing means the CPU allocation in turn to different jobs. CTSS compatible time sharing system that is developed at MIT on a specially modified 7094. यहाँ पर स्पूलिंग का क्या मीनिंग है, स्पूलिंग आगे भी हम वर्ड रीड करेंगे, और विच इज़ वन ऑफ द फंक्शन ऑफ द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. जो स्पूलिंग होता है वहाँ पर क्या होता है कि हमारे पास नंबर ऑफ जॉब्स होती हैं, साइमल्टेनियस प्रोसेसेस, और द ऑपरेशंस आर टू बी वर्किंग ऑनलाइन at the same time, in which the jobs are divided or make the batches. Similar jobs make a batch and then executed accordingly. टाइम शेयरिंग सिस्टम में क्या है कि CPU जो है, CPU टाइम is allocated to all the processes. So for example, 2 nanosecond is allocated to all the processes, so that all the processor are executed on time. So these are the third generation. Next we have the fourth generation, which is from 1980 to till the present, which is CM, control program for the microcomputer. 1974, which is basically the disk based operating system. to run on 8-bit Intel 8080 Digital Research Rewrote CP/M, and for 5 years it was the most used system in the world. In 1918, the one of the operating system that was released by the IBM personal computer. So it worked on the disk operating system. Bill Gates bought it from Settle Computer Products, $50. Package DOS Basic was offered by Gates to IBM. IBM wanted some modification on the system, so the Microsoft hired the programmer Tim Patterson, who wrote the DOS and MS DOS. Next generation, or the next, they developed the Apple Magnetos, which provide the one of the functionality, that is the graphical user interface, for example the Photoshop, etc. So Microsoft Windows 90 is initially run over the DOS disk operating system, but not really a different operating system. So next we have the Windows 95, which is underlying DOS only for booting and running all DOS programs. Windows 98, both W95 and W98, Windows 98 retain large portions of 16-bit assembly language, and Windows NT is a new technology. Full 32-bit system के लिए would kill off the DOS and win NT 4.0. These are the generation और the evolutions of the Windows starting से लेके जो अब तक हमारे, जैसे हम रिसेंटली अब यूज़ कर रहे हैं विंडो 10, क्लियर, विंडो 7 थी पहले, विस्टा थी, तो दीज आर द एवोल्यूशन स्टार्टिंग से जो है, क्लियर। तो उसके इन बिटवीन जैसे इन्होंने बताया कि डिस्क ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम था जिसको आगे से आगे इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया, आगे विंडो 90s आ गया, 95 आया, विंडो NT इज़ द न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी। सो 32-बिट सिस्टम के लिए प्रोवाइड की, उससे पहले 16-बिट के लिए थी, अब क्या है 64-बिट सिस्टम के लिए प्रोवाइड हो रही है। तो वुड किल ऑफ द डॉस विंडो NT 4.0, विंडो 4.0 वाज रीनेम्ड टू विंडोज़ 2000, आगे से आगे जो वर्जन प्रेजेंट तक अब तक आए गए हैं। सो one word, that is kernel, which is mostly used in case of the operating system. This is a central component of the computer operating system. The only job is to manage the communication between the software and the hardware. So a kernel is at it is also known as the heart of the operating system. So it makes the communication between the hardware and the software possible, while innermost part of the operating system, a shell, is the outermost one. Clear? Kernel is the innermost and shell is the outermost part of the operating system. So अगर हम बात करें कि अगर हमारे पास ये ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, दिस इज़ द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम, तो इसका जो कर्नल पार्ट है वो क्या है, इनर पार्ट, एंड शेल इज़ द आउटर पार्ट। ये आउटर पार्ट है और ये इनर पार्ट है। तो ये ऐसे ये हुआ करते हैं, एंड एक्टिव, इट इज़ वन ऑफ द कंपोनेंट विच इज़ एक्टिव ऑल द टाइम. So next we have the types of the operating system, or the evolution of the operating system, which may turn from one step to another, which we will discuss in the next video lecture.